I worked day and night in a foreign city, sending money home for my family. Every hard-earned naira, every sacrifice, every late-night shift. And I trusted my brother to use it wisely. But one day I returned, and what I found shattered everything I believed about family. He built a house. But it wasn't for our parents. It was for himself. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Comment below. I want to know where you're watching from. Chaik had always been the kind of man who carried responsibility like a weight on his shoulders, but one he bore willingly. At 28, he was far from home, in a foreign city that never slept, its streets crowded with people rushing somewhere, anyone anywhere, but never to care for him. Every morning, he woke before sunrise, the city still yawning under a haze of streetlights. He worked in a high-rise construction company, a laborer among many, blending into a sea of faces. Sweat ran down his back as he lifted heavy beams, tightened bolts, and risked fingers and toes for a paycheck barely enough to survive in this foreign land. Yet Chaik never complained. Not because he liked suffering, but because every drop of sweat, every aching muscle, every sleepless night was for someone else. For his parents back in Nigeria. For a house that needed repairs. For food that needed to be on the table. For a younger brother, Obinna, who depended on him, though he had no idea how much. After his shifts, Chaik would walk the long streets back to his small rented room. It wasn't much. Bare walls, a thin mattress, and a window that offered a view of other lonely apartments stacked on top of one another. But it was enough. He would sit by the dim light of his phone, open the money transfer app, and send another portion of his paycheck home. He smiled softly as he tapped in the figures, thinking of the improvements his money could make. Maybe Mama will finally have a proper kitchen. Maybe Papa can fix that leaking roof. Maybe Obinna will stop borrowing money from neighbors and start taking life seriously. But as he clicked send, a pang of doubt often hit him. Obinna was charming, yes, but he had a mischievous glint in his eye, a boyish confidence that sometimes crossed into irresponsibility. Chaik shook the thought away. No, he's still my brother. I must trust him. Even in the toughest moments, Chaik found solace in memories of home. He kept a small photo of his parents and Obinna taped to the wall beside his bed. Every night, he would stare at it before sleeping. Mama's warm smile, Papa's stern but kind eyes, and Obinna's cheeky grin. It was enough to make him endure another grueling day. Sometimes he would call home. Hearing his mother's voice over the phone made him feel closer, even thousands of miles away. "Chaik, my son, are you eating well?" she would ask. "Yes, Mama. Don't worry about me. I'm fine." He lied about the loneliness, the exhaustion, and the nights he went hungry so he could send more money. He didn't want her to worry. Obinna, on the other hand, lived life differently. He was a black African young man with a charm that disarmed everyone. Friends, neighbors, even strangers. His laughter was easy, his smile infectious. But beneath it lay carelessness. Bills left unpaid, small debts ignored, promises broken. He had grown up relying on Chaik's sacrifice, knowing that the money sent home would cover almost anything. Obinna was not malicious, just naive, perhaps spoiled, perhaps unaware of the weight on his older brother's shoulders. But Chaik didn't know that yet. Chaik only knew that every dollar he sent, every naira, was meant to lift the family up, but whether it actually was remained unseen. That night, Chaik sat at the edge of his small bed, counting the last of his weekly earnings. His hands shook from fatigue. His eyes red from exhaustion, but he smiled when he imagined the effect his money could have at home. He tapped the app to send another transfer. A notification confirmed it. Funds successfully sent. Chaik leaned back, exhaling slowly. A soft voice in his mind whispered, "One day, this will all be worth it. One day your family will have everything they need." He looked at Obinna's photo beside the family's, imagining his brother receiving the money and using it wisely. "One day, Obinna, you'll understand," he murmured. Every day was a repetition of the last. Hard work, long shifts, lonely nights, small joys from memories, sending money, calling home, worrying about Obinna, and dreaming of a better future. Chike often wondered if anyone else understood the sacrifices he made. Friends in the foreign city saw him as lucky, earning a wage far above theirs, but they didn't know the pain of being far from the people you love, sending money that may not always be used properly, and carrying the invisible weight of responsibility that never sleeps. He ate simple meals, slept little, and worked tirelessly, but in his heart, he never questioned why he did it. Because love for family, for parents, and even for a brother who sometimes didn't deserve it, was stronger than any fatigue or hunger. As Chike prepared for another day of long shifts, he paused by his small window, looking at the city skyline. Neon lights reflected off the glass, the hum of life below endless. He whispered to himself, "One day, everything will be worth it. One day, Obinna will see why I do this. And one day, our family will be proud." What Chike didn't know was that Obinna's charm and irresponsibility would soon cross a line, testing not only his sacrifices but the very trust that held their family together. The stage was set. The tension was building. And the story of money, trust, and betrayal was about to begin. Life abroad for Chike was a cycle of work, money transfers, and brief moments of rest. But even those moments were never truly peaceful. Every evening, he made it a point to call home, to hear the familiar voices of his parents, to check in on Obinna. "Hello, Mama," he said one night, his voice tight with fatigue. "Chike, my son." His mother's voice rang over the line, warm and full of affection. "How are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself?" "I'm fine, Mama. Don't worry about me. I sent more money today." "I'm just tired," Chike admitted. The fatigue in his voice was not just from labor, but from the constant burden of worry, a worry he couldn't show, even to the ones he loved most. "Oh, Chike, thank you for everything," she said softly. "Obinna is taking care of everything. The bills are paid, the house is fine." Chike forced a smile, even though no one could see it. "That's good to hear. I just want to make sure everything is okay." "Everything is fine, my son. Don't stress yourself. You are working so hard, and we are proud of you." Chike ended the call feeling a strange mix of relief and unease. His parents' words were reassuring, but something in his gut whispered caution. He had sent money for years, sacrificed holidays, birthdays, even his own comfort, and yet the house wasn't fixed, the roof still leaked, the electricity bills were always late, and Obinna seemed to live carefree as ever. As the weeks turned into months, Chike began to notice patterns. His mother would mention that bills were unpaid, but assure him it was just a temporary delay. His father would hint at financial strain, but praise Obinna for handling it. Obinna's stories about small purchases or loans seemed vague, inconsistent, and sometimes contradictory. Chike wanted to trust them, wanted to believe that his money was being used wisely. But every phone call, every piece of news from home, chipped away at that trust. Late at night, lying on the thin mattress of his rented room, Chike would stare at his ceiling and wonder, is Obinna really using the money to help the family? Or is he spending it on himself? The thought was unbearable. To think that all his sacrifices, years of sweat, tears, and pain, could be misused. It made his stomach churn and his chest tighten. Chike had given up almost everything to ensure his family would have a better life. He skipped meals to save money for transfers. He worked extra shifts, often late into the night, under harsh conditions. He refused to return home for holidays or family events because the flights were too expensive and he couldn't risk losing wages. Meanwhile, on the other side of the continent, his family seemed oblivious. Or worse, content with the sacrifices of one man without accountability. Chike's younger brother, Obinna, continued to live as if life was carefree, hanging out with friends while bills piled up, borrowing from neighbors and promising to repay, but never doing so, laughing loudly during family calls, a grin that cut through Chike's heart because it reminded him of the irresponsibility he had been trying to correct. Chike's love for his family battled with a growing frustration. Every time he spoke to his parents, he had to hide the anger and disappointment brewing inside him. Every time Obinna's name came up, he wanted to shout, demand answers, or even fly home immediately. Yet he stayed. Because family comes first. Because he believed in doing the right thing. Because he hoped that one day his sacrifices would be worth it, not just in material terms but in trust and gratitude. But the doubt lingered like a shadow he could not shake. Am I just throwing my life away for someone who will never appreciate it? The tension gnawed at him day and night, mixing with exhaustion from long shifts, loneliness, and the sting of unacknowledged effort. During his rare breaks, Chaik would look at his phone and scroll through old family photos. Mama's smile as she cooked in the kitchen. Papa proudly showing him his small garden before he left for the city. Obinna as a child, mischievous but innocent. He remembered telling Obinna as a teenager, "One day you'll understand the value of money and hard work. You'll see why we must plan, save, and be responsible." Chaik's heart ached at the memory because now, he wasn't sure if Obinna had truly learned, or if all those lessons had gone ignored. Weeks turned into months, and Chaik's suspicion grew stronger. The money he sent, money meant for family improvement, seemed vanishing into thin air, and every update from home seemed suspiciously incomplete. Chaik's sacrifice, his sleepless nights, and his relentless work abroad were building something. But for whom? For a responsible family. Or for a brother who didn't deserve it? The story was heading toward a breaking point. A moment where years of trust, love, and sacrifice would collide with betrayal, greed, and heartbreak. And Chaik had no idea how soon that moment would arrive. The plane touched down on Nigerian soil, and Chaik's heart pounded, not with excitement but with anticipation. After years of sacrifice, of working long, grueling hours in a foreign city, of missing birthdays, weddings, funerals, and holidays, he was finally returning home. He imagined what he would find: a house that no longer leaked, walls freshly painted, his parents smiling, proud of the life they could now live thanks to his sacrifice. His younger brother, Obinna, finally showing signs of responsibility. In his mind, Chaik rehearsed every word he would say, every hug he would give, every question he would ask. But nothing could have prepared him for the reality. He drove through familiar streets, streets that had changed little over the years, yet looked different from the perspective of someone who had been away. His eyes scanned the horizon, expecting to see the modest home of his childhood, perhaps repaired and tidy. And then he saw it. Mansion. A luxurious, sprawling house with freshly painted walls, polished gates, and sleek cars parked in the driveway. The kind of house he had only dreamed about. But it wasn't for his parents. It was Obinna's. Chaik's hand tightened around the steering wheel. His chest burned, his stomach churned, and his mind struggled to process what he was seeing. Chaik stepped out of the car, each step feeling heavier than the last. The sound of his shoes on the driveway seemed deafening in the silence of his disbelief. As he approached the gate, he noticed Obinna, his younger brother, smiling and talking to friends, standing confidently by the entrance. His posture was casual, carefree, as though Chaik's return was nothing special. Chaik's voice cracked. "Obinna, what is this?" Obinna looked at him and laughed lightly, shrugging. "This is it, Chaik. Isn't it nice?" Chaik's eyes darted to his parents, who stood awkwardly near the porch. Their smiles were forced, their eyes avoiding his. Shame flickered across their faces, but no one spoke. Chaik's hands shook as he stepped closer. Do you know what I've sent home for all these years?" he asked, his voice barely controlled. "Do you know the sacrifices I've made?" Obinna's grin faded slightly, replaced with mild irritation. "I know, big brother, but I used the money wisely. For the family." Chaik's eyes widened. "For the family. This house. All these cars. This isn't for the family. It's for you." Obinna waved his hands as if brushing away the accusation. "Relax, Chaik. It's not a big deal. We needed a better place to live, right? I just took the initiative. Chike could barely breathe. Rage, disbelief, and heartbreak battled within him. He had worked day and night, endured loneliness, sacrificed everything, and all that hard-earned money had been used to enrich the very person who had relied on him the most. Chike turned to his parents, seeking their support, seeking at least acknowledgement of the truth. "Mom, Dad, did you know about this?" His mother looked down, her hands trembling. "Chike, we didn't want to worry you. We thought it would be okay." His father's voice was barely audible. We wanted Obinna to learn responsibility. We didn't." Chike felt as if the words were hitting him like blows. Every excuse, every justification, every half-truth from years of trust came crashing down. He felt his heart shatter. Anger boiled in his veins, hot and searing. "All these years. I've sent money, I've missed everything for this family. And for what? For you to live like this, pretending it's for all of us." Obinna looked defensive now, but still composed. "Chike, calm down. You don't understand." "No, Obinna. I understand perfectly. I understand that you took advantage of my sacrifice. I understand that I worked myself to the bone while you built a life for yourself." Chike's voice echoed through the luxurious halls of the house. His fists clenched, his vision blurred with tears and fury. Chike walked through the house, each room a dagger to his heart. The living room, decorated lavishly, with furniture he had only dreamed of buying for his parents. The kitchen, modern and fully stocked, while at home, his mother had cooked on a cracked stove. Obinna's bedroom, filled with gadgets, clothes, and luxuries bought with Chike's sweat and pain. It was all too much. He had given everything, and yet the family he had worked for seemed blind to his efforts. This is all you're doing?" he asked his mother, voice shaking. She nodded silently, shame written across her face. "Obinna, how could you?" Chike whispered, a mix of rage and heartbreak in his tone. Obinna shrugged, almost flippantly. "I thought you'd understand when you came back." Chike's hands went to his head. Every moment of sacrifice, every night of hunger, every tear shed abroad, it all felt wasted on someone who didn't care. Chike realized then that this wasn't just about money. It was about trust, respect, and betrayal. Obinna's casual demeanor, his parents' silence, and the sheer audacity of the luxurious house, all pointed to a breaking point. This moment would define the rest of Chike's life. Would he forgive? Would he fight? Or would he finally take control of the situation, showing that hard work, sacrifice, and integrity could not be undermined forever? One thing was certain: the story of money, family, and betrayal had only just begun. The air in the new house felt heavier than any heat of the Nigerian sun Chike had endured abroad. The walls, glossy and perfect, seemed to mock him. Every polished surface, every expensive chair, every luxury car parked outside whispered the truth he had been fearing for years. Obinna had used his money for himself. Chike's hands shook, not from fatigue, but from anger and disbelief. His chest heaved, his breath ragged, as he turned to face his younger brother, the man who had grown up under his protection yet now stood before him as a symbol of betrayal. "Obinna," Chike began, voice trembling but growing stronger. Is this what all my money was for?" Obinna's expression didn't falter. In fact, he smiled faintly, a smugness that cut deeper than any blade. "Chike, you're overreacting," Obinna said casually, leaning against the polished staircase railing. "I only used the money wisely, for all of us." Chike's eyes widened, disbelief turning to fury. "For all of us," he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. "For all of us. This house, these cars, these luxuries, do you call this for all of us? Mama, Papa. Tell me, is this what you call for the family?" His mother's hands trembled. She avoided his gaze, while his father's face was a mask of guilt. "Chike, we didn't know how to tell you," his mother whispered, voice breaking. We thought Obinna could handle it. We wanted him to take responsibility." Chaik felt as if the room was spinning. His legs felt weak, his heart pounding with a mixture of betrayal, exhaustion, and sorrow. "Take responsibility," he shouted, tears starting to well in his eyes. "All these years I've worked myself to death abroad. Missed birthdays, missed holidays, missed my own life. For what? For him to take everything I sent and build a palace for himself." Obinna straightened, looking defensive now, but still trying to maintain control of the situation. "Chaik, calm down. I didn't do anything wrong. I thought you'd understand when you came back." "Understand?" Chaik's voice cracked like thunder. "Understand? I trusted you. I believed in you. Every naira I sent, every sacrifice I made, was supposed to help our family, our parents. And you used it to live like a king while Mama and Papa struggled to pay bills." The tension grew unbearable. Chaik's parents tried to intervene. "Hey, Obinna didn't mean to hurt you," his father said cautiously. "We thought it would be a learning experience. We didn't know how else to manage things." Chaik's eyes flashed with anger. "Learning experience? My learning experience was in a foreign city, working my hands to the bone so that my family wouldn't suffer. And this is your idea of teaching responsibility?" Obinna's friends, who had been lounging in the living room, murmured uneasily. Some tried to calm Chaik, whispering excuses for Obinna. Others stared silently, aware that this confrontation was bigger than money. It was about trust, love, and betrayal. Chaik's vision blurred as he fought to control the storm inside him. Anger, grief, and frustration collided. He had given everything for this family, and now the truth had shattered every hope he had nurtured. Chaik's fists clenched, nails digging into his palms. His eyes, dark with emotion, glistened with tears he refused to let fall. His voice, at first trembling, rose into a sharp crescendo. "All these years I sent money, missed my own life, sacrificed my happiness. And you, Obinna, you just built a life for yourself. Did you even think about Mama and Papa? Did you think about me?" Obinna opened his mouth to respond, but the words seemed hollow in the charged silence. Chaik's mother bowed her head, ashamed, while his father's eyes welled with tears. Chaik took a step closer to Obinna, voice now trembling with controlled rage. "Do you even care about anyone but yourself? Was I just a bank to you? A man who works his life away while you live a life of luxury?" The room was silent. Even the wind outside seemed to hold its breath. Obinna's charm faltered. His casual demeanor cracked slightly under Chaik's fury. I thought I was helping the family," he stammered. "I thought I could make life better for all of us." Chaik laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and angry. "Helping? This is not helping. This is theft disguised as generosity. You lied to me. You lied to Mama and Papa. And for what? To live like a king while the people who actually sacrificed, who actually built this money, are ignored." Obinna looked away, shame beginning to seep in. But it was too late. The damage was done. Chaik's body shook with fury. He sank into the couch, burying his face in his hands, unable to speak for a long moment. Tears streamed down, blending anger, heartbreak, and disappointment. When he finally looked up, the house no longer felt luxurious. It felt cold, hollow, and oppressive. Every polished surface reminded him of betrayal and lost years. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again," Chaik whispered, voice low but fierce. "I don't know if I can call this family my own anymore. After everything." His mother sobbed quietly. His father sat in silence, staring at the floor. Obinna avoided his gaze, shrinking under the weight of Chaik's words. Chaik realized that this confrontation was only the beginning. Words had been exchanged, anger unleashed, tears shed, but now the question remained. Would he forgive Obinna? Would he leave his family behind? Or would he take control, reclaim his hard-earned money, and finally demand the respect he deserved? Chaik sat in the lavish living room, the silence pressing down on him like a physical weight. The polished floors, expensive furniture, and shiny cars no longer sparkled. They glared at him, mocking the years of sweat and struggle he had poured into this family. He thought about everything. The nights he worked double shifts abroad, eating stale bread so he could send more money. The birthdays, holidays, and milestones he had missed. The trust he had placed in Obinna, believing his younger brother would be responsible, grateful, and respectful. And now, all of it had been betrayed. Chike's mind raced. Leave. Forgive. Take control. The options weighed heavily on him. Each choice would define not only his relationship with Obinna but his future and his sense of self. He looked at Obinna, sitting smugly on the couch, trying to act calm. I didn't think you'd react this way, Obinna said cautiously. I thought I was doing what's best. Chike's hands clenched into fists. His heart pounded, his voice quivering with rage and sorrow. Doing what's best. Binna, you don't get it. All these years I sent money to help the family, to fix the house, to make life easier for Mama and Papa. And instead you built this palace, for yourself. Obinna's friends avoided eye contact, sensing the storm about to hit. His parents, trembling, could do nothing to stop it. Chike realized that words alone were no longer enough. Something had to change. He rose from the couch, pacing the polished floor. Every step echoed in the house, a reminder of the power imbalance that had been exposed. He could feel the weight of years of sacrifice pressing down on him, demanding justice. Chike's thoughts turned to his parents. They were kind, loving, but weak in the face of Obinna's charm. They had failed to protect the money and, unknowingly, had allowed betrayal to fester. I cannot let this continue. I cannot let my sacrifice be wasted. I will reclaim what is mine, not for revenge but for justice. Chike called Obinna over. I'm taking control of everything, he said firmly. All financial matters, all decisions about this house, all responsibilities. You will no longer hide behind charm or excuses. You will learn what it means to be accountable. Obinna's face fell. His casual demeanor cracked, replaced with panic. Chike, you can't. I need this house. Chike's voice grew sharp, unwavering. This house was built on my sacrifices. Every naira, every sleepless night, every missed moment of my life abroad. It belongs to me. You have used it for yourself. Now you will learn responsibility the hard way. He instructed his parents to move into a smaller, humble home nearby, a place they had wanted for years but could never afford. This way, Obinna would remain alone in the luxurious house, surrounded by the material wealth he had taken for granted. Mama cried quietly, clutching Chike's hand. My son, I never wanted this. I'm so proud of you. You did the right thing. Papa nodded slowly, tears glistening. Chike, thank you for protecting the family. I see now how much you sacrificed, and what you deserved all along. Obinna's friends murmured in shock. His pride shattered. For the first time he faced the consequences of his actions, alone. Chike didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He simply felt relief, a weight lifted from his shoulders. Justice had been served, not through anger, but through decisive action and moral clarity. Chike returned abroad with renewed focus. He continued working, but now for himself and his parents, not for someone who would betray his trust. He invested wisely, building wealth, securing a future, and ensuring his parents could live comfortably, happily, and with dignity. Obinna, left to his own devices, soon realized that charm and shortcuts could not replace honesty and hard work. He learned the hard lesson that sacrifices made by others are not to be taken lightly. Chike's journey showed that sacrifice is noble, but blind trust can be dangerous. Hard work, honesty, and integrity will eventually be recognized and rewarded. Betrayal hurts, but action and wisdom can restore balance. Family is precious, but sometimes boundaries must be drawn to protect what is yours. Chike had lost years, endured pain, and faced heartbreak, yet he emerged stronger, wiser, and in control of his destiny. On a quiet evening, sitting on the balcony of his modest apartment abroad, Chaik smiled as he looked at his parents' small, happy home. "All those years of sacrifice were worth it," he whispered. "Not for Obinna, not for anyone else, but for the people who truly matter, and for my own peace of mind." And in that moment, Chaik realized something powerful. Hard work, integrity, and wisdom will always outlast greed and betrayal. The story of sacrifice, trust, and justice had come full circle. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next captivating story filled with love, lessons, and unforgettable moments. Until our next story.